Your team is confused, inconsistent, or waiting on you for everything. That's not just a leadership problem, that's a profit problem. And that can be hard to admit because leadership issues don't always show up wearing a name tag that says, "Hello, I'm costing you money." They show up disguised, they show up as frustration, as delays, as miscommunication, as repeated mistakes, doing things over and over again, as things falling through the cracks, as clients getting mixed experiences and messages, as employees who are checked out, uninterested, as an owner who can feel like they're never really able to step away. They show up as the sentence I hear all the time. Why does everything still depend on me? And the answer, more often than not, is because leadership has not been built in a way that supports clarity, consistency, and ownership. So today, we're talking about the ways a leadership problem quietly becomes a profit problem. Because when expectations are unclear, when accountability is weak, when delegation is sloppy, and when the owner becomes the biggest bottleneck for every decision, the business doesn't get more annoying, it gets more expensive. Hello, and welcome back to Profit on the Table. I'm Jane Parmel, and today we're going to talk about something that it sits right in the middle of leadership, operations, and profitability. A lot of business owners separate these things in their minds because they can, simply. They think that, sales is over here and profit is over here and leadership is someplace, down the road. It's in the soft skills section next to motivation and team morale. Yay. But leadership is not soft when it comes to business results. Leadership shapes execution. Leadership shapes expectations, bringing in accountability. Leadership shapes consistency. Leadership shapes culture. Leadership shapes whether work gets done well or gets redone badly. And the one thing leadership shapes is whether the owner is building a business or babysitting one. So, this episode is for the owner who feels like they're carrying too much, the owner whose team could be stronger but isn't, the owner who keeps repeating themselves again and again and again, the owner who feels trapped between wanting to trust people and feeling like they have to check every single thing that goes on, the owner who's tired of saying, "Why didn't anybody tell me?" Or, "Why is this happening again?" Because when those patterns stick around for a long time or for a short time, they stop being random frustrations. They become a system of lost profit. And it hurts. A lot of business owners treat leadership issues like they're separate from the financial issues. They're not. When leadership is weak, profit will leak right out of the business, right out the front door. It leaks through wasted time. It leaks through preventable errors. It leaks through client dissatisfaction. Who wants to refer somebody they're not happy with? It leaks through poor delegation. It leaks through inconsistent delivery. It leaks through turnover. Employees are going through a revolving door. It leaks through stalled growth. And it leaks through owner exhaustion. That leads to slower decisions and really a lower level thinking. You can't possibly think well if you're exhausted all the time. That's the real issue. You see, weak leadership doesn't just create an annoyance, it actually creates drag on the business, and drag can be expensive. Because every time a business slows down, gets muddled, gets repeated, gets reworked, gets escalated unnecessarily, and gets delayed because no one's sure what to do, your margin's going to take a hit. Trust in the business takes a hit. Momentum that could have been built, gone. And over time, growth is going to take a hit. Now, leadership problems don't always look dramatic. Sometimes nobody's yelling. Sometimes. Sometimes nobody is openly failing. They're getting by. Sometimes everybody looks busy. Nobody's just hanging around. Sometimes the business it's appearing functional from the outside, but underneath, you start seeing different patterns. As the owner, you're looking at them and you're noticing them. Your team is waiting for approval on things you know they should handle. They've done them before. Employees solve the same problem, but in 5 different ways. 5 different employees, 5 different ways. The client then gets mixed messages. Important details are living in your head or a manager's head instead of in a system that can be repeated and checked. Standards aren't assumed, they're kind of just there. Deadlines slide, responsibilities get fuzzy. The owner gets pulled into constant cleanup mode. You're always fixing things. That's what leadership breakdown often looks like. It's not always a big crash, it's not always a major thing. It's often a very slow drip of confusion, dependency, and inconsistency. And that drip can quietly cost more than people could possibly realize. Let's start with one of the biggest causes of leadership-related profit loss. Unclear expectations. A lot of owners think that they have communicated their expectations to their staff, to their partners, to whomever, because they mentioned it once, or because it feels obvious to them. My favorite line is hearing, they should know. People should just know. But what feels obvious to the owner often feels foggy to the team. They're not thinking what you're thinking. And when expectations are unclear, people are going to fill the blanks in themselves. That's when you get inconsistency. Different people, different interpretations, different standards, different levels of urgency, different definitions of done. One person thinks that same day means same day, logically. Another thinks it means by tomorrow morning. One person thinks a task is complete when the work is finished. Another thinks it's complete when the client has been updated. One person thinks attention to details is really, really important. Another thinks that speed is more important. Unless someone, and that's usually the boss, has clearly defined what the expectation actually is, you get drift. And that drift shows up in errors. It shows up in rework, having to do it over again. The client disappointment, the missed opportunities, the internal tension in businesses. Sometimes I could cut it with a knife when I walk into a business. So when a business owner says, my team should know this all by now, my question is always, should they? Or did the business normalize vagueness and then get frustrated by the consequences of that vagueness? Because unclear expectations don't just create confusion, they create cost. The second issue is weak accountability. And these all compound on each other. Weak accountability usually doesn't happen because an owner doesn't care. It happens because accountability feels uncomfortable. A lot of owners avoid it because they don't want to add tension. They don't want people to think that you're counting on them or counting what they do. They don't want to seem harsh. They don't want to create an awkwardness or a bad feeling, and they don't want to micromanage. They don't want to hurt morale if it's there at all. They don't want to hurt what's actually holding the place together. So instead, they let things slide. They miss a deadline, sloppy handoff here and there, a repeated mistake, a half-finished task. Well, we'll get to it tomorrow. It's a standard that gets ignored. And because nothing really happens, people learn what the real standard is, not the written one, not the spoken one. Actions speak louder than words. It's the tolerated one. And that's where accountability lives, in what gets addressed, in what gets reinforced, in what gets corrected. And if weak performance or inconsistent behavior keeps getting a pass, the team adjusts downward. Listen, it's not always malicious. It's not them, they're out to get you. That's not it. It often just happens naturally because humans pay attention to what matters in practice, not just in theory. Weak accountability costs profit because it allows low grade dysfunction to continue to run. You keep having the same mistakes happen over and over again. The speed of everything slows down. The strong team members get frustrated and oftentimes will leave. Clients feel that inconsistency, and the owner stays stuck managing around problems instead of building a stronger operation. You see, accountability is not cruelty, it's actually clarity with follow through. And without it, profit leaks through tolerated mediocrity. The third issue is poor delegation. This is a big one. I learned it from one of my 18-year-old staff 35 years ago. Because many business owners think they're delegating when what they're actually doing is offloading. They hand someone a task without enough context, without a clear outcome, without decisions, boundaries, something to lock them into where they can go with their decisions, without the tools or authority to carry it through well. You're not empowering them. Then the person struggles or misses something entirely or brings it back half done. And the owner says, you see, this is why I have to do everything myself. But that's not always a people problem. Sometimes it's a delegation problem, and a delegation problem from the owner. Good delegation is not just giving the work away, getting it off your plate. It's transferring ownership with enough clarity, support, and accountability for that ownership to actually work. It means answering questions like, what does success look like? What's the goal? What matters most here? Speed, accuracy? What deadline are we working against? What can you decide on your own? What are the parameters they can do? And when should you loop me back in? What standard are we aiming for? Without that delegation, it creates more mess, not less. Then the owner has to re-explain, recheck, redo, and that's very time costs. You know that, time cost and money cost. They need to rescue. And all of that costs time, which also costs margin, also costs trust, because the team never really grows stronger. It doesn't grow into its own ownership. Poor delegation keeps the owner busy, over busy, overloaded. Good delegation builds capacity. That's the difference between a leadership issue and a profit issue. Now, let's talk about the one so many owners know in their bones, the owner bottleneck. You're in the way. You're the problem. This is what happens when too many decisions, approvals, clarifications, and exceptions have to route through one person. Usually the owner, sometimes a manager, but usually the owner. And at first, this can actually feel like you're being responsible. It can feel high standard, like it's quality control. It can feel necessary. But over time, it creates a traffic jam. Just like when you turn a bottle over, if it gets to that thin neck, it can't get out. The team waits, the client waits, the project stalls, momentum stops, and all the while, the owner gets more and more overwhelmed because everyone is standing in that imaginary line right outside his mental doorway, waiting to ask the next question. This is where a business starts feeling like it can't move without you. And some owners secretly wear that like a badge of honor. They need me. I can't not be at work. I'm the only one that can catch those mistakes. I do it faster. Maybe. But if everything depends on you, then your business is not truly building capacity, it's building dependency. And dependency is expensive. It is a killer. It slows growth, it slows execution, it increases stress, it creates decision fatigue from the owner because who wants to make another decision? I'm exhausted. It makes vacations almost impossible. It makes expanding riskier. It makes leadership shallow because the team never develops real confidence, real judgment, or empowerment. And most of all, it keeps the owner trapped in the weeds instead of working on the business at the level they should be. You're always working, you're not leading. And that's not just exhausting, that's expensive. Because leadership problems don't stay internal, they leak outward and sometimes very badly. When expectations are unclear, clients feel that inconsistency. When accountability is weak, clients feel like you're dropping balls. I mean, come on. When delegation is sloppy, clients feel that you don't know what you're doing, you're confused. And when the owner bottlenecks everything, clients feel that delay. When all of that stacks up, the client experience becomes less smooth, less confidence building, and the worst of all, less referable. This matters because service businesses do not just sell the service itself, they sell confidence, they sell peace of mind, they sell responsiveness, and they sell trust to their customers. And when leadership inside the business is messy, the client feels it. Even if they can't name it, they know it. Something just feels off. Maybe the communications is slower than it should be. Maybe one person says one thing and another person says another. Maybe the deadlines move, up, back, who knows? Maybe details get missed, mixed up, missed, whatever. Maybe the business does deliver in the end, but the experience feels a heck of a lot bumpier than it should. And those bumps matter because they affect renewals and referrals and come agains and reputation. They affect how premium your business feels, how boutique-ish it feels. Leadership quality becomes service quality, and service quality absolutely affects your profit. Now let's talk margin because this is where the money trail gets real. Weak leadership reduces margin in ways that are often hidden. You don't even know they're happening. Every repeated mistake costs labor. Don't tell me they're on payroll. That's not the point. Every unclear instruction costs time. Every rescue mission costs energy and focus. You're sending two people out to do one job. Every delay costs momentum. Every unnecessary escalation costs attention and tension. Every owner interruption costs strategic time that could have been used on growth, planning, partnerships, or high-level decisions. And when this becomes the daily rhythm of a business, the business starts to burn resources just to maintain its basic function. That is a huge margin problem. Not because there was a gigantic disaster, but because too much of your labor is being spent on preventable friction. We talked about friction last time, preventable friction. This is why some businesses look busy and still feel thin. The effort is there. The revenue may even be there. You still might be making money, but the margin is getting chewed up by confusion, cleanup, inconsistency, and owner over-involvement. They don't need to be doing the things they're doing. And that's a hidden cost of weak leadership. So, why do so many owners miss the link between leadership and profit? Because leadership problems often show up disguised as operational frustration. It sounds like my team keeps asking me the same questions. Nobody takes the initiative. Oh, I've heard that one. I feel like I have to check every single thing. We keep having the same issues over and over again. I don't understand why this keeps happening. Why can't anybody just take responsibility? Why can't they just own their role? Well, if you ask me, all of that sounds operational. But underneath, it's often leadership, architecture, and the structure, the foundation is weak. The clarity is weak. The follow through is non existent. Delegation, maybe, maybe not. Standards are not really embedded. Nobody's buying in because everything feels like an irritation every day, all day. People don't always see it as a direct financial issue, but a cultural issue. But it is a financial issue because recurring frustration is often recurring waste. Money out the window. So, what does stronger leadership look like in practical terms? Listen, it's not perfection. It's not hovering over your staff. It's not controlling every detail. It's not becoming the office police. Stronger leadership looks like setting clear expectations, giving clear ownership for tasks and things they have to get done, setting clear standards, setting clear consequences when those standards aren't met, clear communication, and a team that knows what good looks like without needing the owner to narrate every step and validate them. It looks like people understanding not just what to do, but what matters. It looks like fewer gray areas. It looks like there's a documented process where it matters. It looks like regular check-ins instead of random firefighting. It looks like accountability that is steady, not emotional. It even looks like an owner who's still involved, but not entangled or ensnared in everything. And that kind of leadership creates profit because it creates consistency. It protects time. It reduces rework, redos, whatever you want to call them. It improves trust between the staff, the owner, and the clients. It raises the quality of the deliveries. It makes growth more possible because business is no longer wobbling back and forth on one person's shoulders alone. Now it's a team. Now, listen, I don't want this episode to become one more thing you nod at and then leave it sitting on the shelf. I've got a room full of that stuff. Let's make this practical. This week, I want you to identify one place, just one, where stronger leadership could create stronger profit. Just one. Let me give you some hints. Maybe it's a role where expectations are too vague for your staff. Maybe it's a recurring issue that nobody's really addressed yet. Maybe it's a task you keep pulling back onto your plate because you've delegated it, but it's been sloppy in the rollout. Maybe it's a client handoff that needs a clearer process. Maybe it's a team member who needs clarity instead of assumption. Tell them what you want. Maybe it's a decision that should stop needing your approval every single time. Let somebody else approve it. Or not at all. Pick one place where leadership has been loose and profit has most likely been paying the price. Then just make one small change. Clarify that expectation. Define the standard. Document the process. That's a big one and it's easy. Document the process. Set the next step ownership. Listen, have the accountability conversation. Just like I said before, remove one unnecessary approval layer. Give one person clearer responsibility and clearer boundaries. Small changes matter here because stronger leadership is not built in one dramatic speech. You're not, what's his name? Lombardi, right? Coach Lombardi, you're not him. Trust me. It's built in repeated moments of clarity, consistency, and follow through. So here's the reminder I want to leave you with today. Leadership is not separate from profitability. Leadership is one of the engines that shapes it. If your team's confused, that costs money. If people are inconsistent, that costs money. If accountability is weak, that costs money. Please remember, if everything depends on you, it's not a claim to fame. It costs money. Period. End. If your business cannot move well without your constant involvement, then it's not just stressful. That is expensive. And you know what the good news is? There is good news. Leadership improvements often create profit improvements faster than people expect. Because when clarity improves, execution improves. When execution improves, the client experience improves. And when the client experience improves, trust improves, they refer you more. You see, when the trust improves, keeping the client, having the client refer you more, and your reputation all improve. That's how stronger leadership turns into stronger profit. So here's your question for this week. Where in your business is operational frustration actually a leadership issue in disguise? Where are you feeling that drag because clarity is weak? Where are you feeling stressed because accountability is loose? Where are you feeling stuck because too much still roots through you? Because that may not just be a leadership problem. It may be a profit problem that's been wearing a clever costume. This week, identify one place where stronger leadership could create stronger profit and make one small change. Then share this episode with another business owner, another manager, someone else who needs that reminder, because weak sales are expensive. Yes, but weak leadership can quietly drain a business for a very long time. Thank you for being here for episode 4. Oh, wow, 4 of Profit on the Table. I'm Jane Parmel, and I'll see you next time at the table.